Okay, so welcome everyone to our study abroad podcast series. So today we have Mayuresh, who is studying at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, and he's from Pune. So we'll be knowing about his journey from Pune to Pittsburgh. So welcome Mayuresh to our podcast.
Hi, lovely talking to you today.
Sure. So Mayuresh, the very first question that we usually ask anyone, and we have the same for you, is when was the very first time you thought that you should go abroad for studies or exposure or anything like that?
Yeah, so actually, I had a plan to study abroad way since my school days because I was fascinated by the fact of coming outside and looking at those universities in the movies, like you see in the movies. So I had the plan since my school days. So yeah, that's when my thoughts of coming abroad started. And I actually also was planning to come during my undergrad, but then I chose to stay in India, and then I finally came for my master's in the US.
Sure. And once you decided all this or you thought about all this, you would have done some tests like GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, etc. When was this?
Yeah, so actually my planning was that if I want to go for masters in 2023, so I gave all my exams by the month of September, October in 2022. So that was when, because for applications you need a lot of documents. So my plan was to give exams 1 year before so that I have scores in hand and then proceed with the applications further.
So so it's advisable to start almost like a year back with all the tests and other preparations, etc.
Yes. I mean, if you don't want any pressure at the last moment and you want your process to be smooth and seamless without any stress or anything, it's better you give your exams 1 year before you apply so that one thing just goes off your mind and then you can focus on other things such as visa, let's say visa and all other college documentations.
Sure. So regarding the college documentation, you have to probably get some recommendation letters from some professors. So how did you choose those three people? Three or two? How many you needed for your case?
Yeah, for Carnegie Mellon, you needed three letters of recommendation from your professors. So I would suggest that you could take the LORs from professors which you actually worked with. I mean, if you did any projects with them, any research with them, so that they can attest your skills and I mean they know you better and how you perform things. So they can be a better third person to go to verify yourself. So I think the professors which have projects with you, that'll be the best thing to approach. You can just approach and then usual professors give it to you.
So it's another piece of advice that at least have good relation with three professors.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Sure. So it's like for anyone, at least have three good relations in your life so that they can recommend you.
Yeah, it'd be pretty useful in life.
Sure. And regarding the other documentation, the all the application process was online, or you had to do any physical courier or something of any document?
Oh yeah, the only physical courier was my degree certificate. That was the only main physical piece of document which they required. Otherwise, your transcripts, your LORs, and your SOPs, it's mostly an online process. And I think it's the same for a lot of colleges, at least for the college which I applied. But the only thing which I had to send actually was my degree certificate. That's all, because everything is available online, so it's not that difficult nowadays.
Sure. And how many colleges approximately you applied to in your case?
I would say applying for 10 colleges would be the best idea because of course, you need to take your chances and you can't just focus on one university. So 10 would diversify your options the same thing you do in stocks as well. You just diversify your portfolio and all. So I think you should apply for 10 colleges at least, and then it's up to you. I mean, which college you prefer.
And you applied to like one country or few countries when you selected these 10 colleges?
I actually had a plan to also go to the UK. So I had a balance of five colleges in the UK and five colleges in the US. So yeah, that was my plan for now.
But US was your preference as such, or after getting the
Yeah.
offer, you decided this?
Yeah, I mean, it was also a preference, but mainly it was decided on the college which I got. So of course, when you get CMU, it's like you just finalize your decision immediately because it's a nice university and the resources you get are unmatched. So that was my decision. It was pretty fast.
So do to freeze your acceptance offer, do you have to like pay some security deposit kind of thing to like secure your offer?
As far as I know, there was a small fee which ensures that you have blocked your spot in the college. It's not expensive, but it's just a small fee, and I think that's the standard procedure for all the colleges which you apply for and get an admission for.
Yeah, it's also a trick used by them to, not let you go anywhere else. Freeze you
Yeah,
with us.
yeah,
Sure, sure.
that's the best way to get someone to
Yeah.
get
So once
admission there.
you did your initial like security deposit fees, initial fee, you had to go through this visa, flight, accommodation. So which of the three was most uh, tricky for you in your case?
In my case, actually, the visa procedure was a bit hectic because the appointments were pretty sparse. So it's like there was one batch of appointments which came out at the first, but they got over pretty fast. And then you usually stress because you don't know exactly when the next dates would be out. So and the procedure dragged pretty long for me because the appointments came later on at the end of the month. So yeah, that was the most difficult part for me, I say, because you constantly have the stress that whether you get the visa or not. So yeah, that was the main part for me.
So there was a bit of a like a anxiety kind of thing happening for like a month or so till you got the visa appointment.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we just waiting for something when it's not happening. It's you get pretty anxious. So yeah, that was a point of anxiety for me.
And like you had some of your friends or acquaintances also like coming to this place or going abroad somewhere, and maybe you're comparing yourself with them at times. Something like that also happened in your life.
Yes, many of my friends came with me to the US. No, not CMU, but to the US. There were a lot of people, and some people got it pretty early, the visa, and some people got the procedures dragged on. So yeah, I mean, when you compare someone getting it early and you getting it late, it gets stressful at sometimes. But then at the end, you know that it's gonna still happen. Things happen at the end, and everything is for the good.
It's a bit like the placement happening, right? Like some people are getting the job and then rest of them are waiting for the next interview and so on.
Yeah, you just keep on waiting, and it's stressful.
Sure, sure. And regarding your accommodation, what was the process you used and how did you find your accommodation?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I had a friend of mine who was in a different course at CMU. So he and me coordinated with each other, and fortunately, he got a house through his contacts, and it was a pretty cheap deal. So I mean, regarding housing and all, it was pretty seamless for me. There were no hassles as such. Yeah, so I could say my friend helped me in this, so it was easy for me.
So the hard work was done by your friend and you just reaped the benefits.
Yeah, in this case, I totally can say yes.
And what about the flight? Like you and your friend, or like some of you took the flight together, or how is it in your case?
No, because my friend, which I told you about, he got his visa appointment earlier, and my appointment was pretty late. So the thing is, I booked my flights after I got my visa, so that you need to be sure that you're going somewhere when you get the visa. So I booked it pretty late, so my flight was late compared to others.
So did you like fly alone? There was nobody with you when you were flying from Pune to Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah, I was alone, so yeah, I had to do everything by myself.
And what packing tips did you apply to yourself, or any misses that happened in your life due to packing error?
I can say I overpacked. So initially, you don't know what exactly you have to take to a different country. So you just stuff your bag. And then when you land, you realize that that's a lot of stuff. So yeah, I would say that just get a few utensils and mostly fill it up with clothes because you get things here for pretty cheap. I mean, there are places like Dollar Store and all. So I think uh, packing should be compact, get the essential things and more clothes so that you can have a nice variety over here and utensils you can easily manage over here.
Sure, sure. And when you were taking this flight, was this your first international flight or you had any prior experience?
Oh yeah, it was not my first international flight. I had flown many times with my parents, but not never alone. So yeah, for if in case of being alone, it was my first international flight. Yes.
First solo trip and maybe the longest also.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So when you are taking
14
the flight,
hours.
what was your which airline did you take and what was the trajectory like of the flight?
So the airline which I took was British Airways, and the trajectory was from Mumbai to London, London to New York. I mean, New York was my port of entry, and then a local flight via Delta Airways to Pittsburgh.
Okay, and it was like almost 20-24 hours of journey probably.
Yeah, around it was 18 hours. That was distributed by two flights, so it was 18 hours in total.
Okay. And did you get lost in London? Any problem faced in the London airport?
I mean, the terminal which I landed had a board which wasn't displaying the details of my flight, but until the end. So yeah, I mean, it's the board's fault. Nothing else as of such.
So there was another quick anxiety thing happened to you that why my flight is not shown.
Oh yeah, there was just a small moment. That's all.
Then did you approach like some security and all that? Okay, can you tell me a bit more? Like I cannot see it on the board. Like, can you give me information? Something like that happened.
I mean, I was about to think that I think like to approach someone, but then I just waited for a few minutes, and then fortunately it came up on the screen, so there was no need of talking to anybody.
Okay, okay. So probably that the board was like do it taking turns, like showing the flights one by one. So
Yeah,
maybe the board was
yeah,
not
but
big
yeah,
enough to show all the flights because there are too many flights.
yeah. I mean, that's a problem. That might be a problem at Heathrow Airport, maybe.
So you landed in New York, you said. So what was the very first surprise or shock that you observed once you landed in US?
Actually, the layover which I had in New York was pretty short, so I had to run through the airport to reach my flight because if that was the case, I would have missed my flight because my bags were late because I had to check in again for the flight to Pittsburgh. So I think running throughout JFK was one of the highlights when I landed in the US. So that was one of the surprises.
So that JFK was as big as London, roughly, or like I mean, your walk or your change of terminal, etc., or shorter.
Y- yeah, unfortunately, my terminal was a bit far away from the terminal which I landed. So, yeah, I can say both the airports were of the same size, but the only downside was running, and you don't want to be stressed in that situation when you are new to a country. So, yeah, that was one of the things.
So you had to collect your bag and then recheck to like the local terminal, kind of, right?
Oh, yeah.
So once
So
you
I had to
landed
switch
in
from
Pittsburgh,
international to domestic.
sure, 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 international domestic. And once you landed in Pittsburgh, how did you come to your accommodation from the airport? You took a taxi, or how was it for your case?
Oh yeah, so in my case, I had a cousin in Pittsburgh who made my landing a bit softer. So he came to receive me at the airport, and then I went to his place for a day, and then afterwards he dropped me to my place. So it was a seamless transition. There was no more stress as of such in the remaining part of my journey.
Okay, okay. So everything was okay at that kind of.
Yeah, fortunately, yes.
So once you got your accommodation and you started like staying there, there are like few things still which are uncommon. India versus US is like you have to do your own cooking, you have to do your own cleaning, then you have to do your own laundry, washing, etc. Were you used to some of them, or like did you get adjusted? And which one was the hardest versus easiest for you?
Yeah, I mean, coming to the US, I was mentally prepared for such things because I heard that you have to do all of the things by yourself. I had some experience in cooking because I used to cook at home. So, yeah, I mean, initially you just face some issues adjusting to the time zones, the jet lag, and also being alone, like doing things by yourself. And then I think in 1 or 2 days you get adapted, you get the hang of things, and then gradually it becomes easy for you. So in my case, I just took 1 or 2 days to adapt, and then it was a bit easy for me as I made friends as well. So it got easier as time passed.
And once you got into your college, probably after a few days or something, what were the initial surprises that you observed in the education system or the way classes are organized, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I observed a huge difference between the education systems and the way they taught in college over here. So yeah, I mean the intensity levels of the curriculum and the type of exams, the type of assignments were totally different. I mean, adapting to the difficult standards over here, the rigorous curriculum was a bit hard at first because you're not used to doing those tough things in India as well because the style of teaching over here is different. So I mean, the main thing was yeah, the assignments over here at CMU they are pretty intense that and they have also strict policies over here. So yeah, those were the first few challenges you faced, and I think you get you get used to it in one semester. So after semester ends, then you get the hang of it totally, and then from the second semester, it becomes easy for you.
What about calling the professors by their first name? Was it easy for you, or you found it a bit
I
disrespectful
mean,
at the first?
still at sometimes I find it a bit awkward calling them by their first name because we're not used to it in India. We always call them a professor or Mr. or Mrs. something like that. So yeah, I mean, whenever professors mention that they don't mind being called by their first name, uh, I still don't do that. I just call them by professor. I've never called them any professor by the names as of now. I mean.
Okay, so and what about the classroom size that you have? Like, how many people were studying with you for different semesters?
I mean, the classroom size depends on the amount of people who take the courses over there. So it can range from, let's say, 10 people to like 200 or 300 people. And most of the times, most people don't show up gradually as the semester goes on. So there's no fixed class as of such because many people can take the different amount of courses, not just the ones fixed in the curriculum. So it ranges. It's a variable thing.
What about mandatory attendance? Anything like that, or people are just disciplined enough to do things?
I mean, there's no mandatory attendance at all. You can just, I mean, even the professor doesn't look at your attendance records or look at when you come in class or when you don't. So it's all up to your willingness to study, willingness to be a part of things which are happening, and your willingness to talk to the professor. So everything over it just depends on you and how you approach things.
So, did it ever occur to you that maybe you are a bit, slacking or bit lazy during your undergrad, and now you have to like redeem yourself a bit with that? So, you should be a bit more disciplined than your UG. Has it occurred to you, or maybe your peers? Any experiences in this regard?
Yeah, I mean, I spent 2 years of my undergrad in the lockdown, so as everybody knows that everyone got a lot of laziness inside them after that time period. So yeah, I mean, after in the first semester, I had some assignments which were due, and they were a bit difficult. So yeah, I just realized at that point of time that I needed to step up my game to upskill myself and then focus more as compared to and then at that point, I realized the true difference between my undergrad and the grad school. And so that was a kind of a shock to me. So from that point onwards, I stepped up my game a bit, and now it's working for me well.
So, it did help you to develop your discipline, your personality to the next level.
Yeah, for sure it did because of course you live alone, you do all your things by yourself, you manage all those things as well as your academics. So it instills the discipline in you and let's say also a work ethic in you in order to navigate through things easily.
What about some leadership skill development? Did that also happen in your case?
Yeah, actually, that happened in my undergrad college as I was in the student council. So since then, I've been just trying to get into new initiatives, talk to more people, and yeah, of course, moving to a new country and talking to people of different cultures enhances your personality, and yeah, it gradually builds up your confidence. So in that sense, I can say yes, it has helped me uh, to improve my confidence as well.
What about a part-time job or like off-campus job, etc.? Did you do some of them?
Yeah, so for the first semester, you can't do any research assistantships or anything because you just new in the college. So in the second semester, I did an part-time job. So it was a food service job. I mean, you were in a restaurant. It was a totally student-run restaurant. So all the students were managing the restaurant together. So, as your previous question also mentioned, leadership skills. So through that, I also developed some leadership skills as well, and the part-time job also helped me sustain my living expenses and other expenses as well.
So was it a good feeling to earn in dollars for the first time?
Yes, of course it is. And when you just convert the over dollar value into rupees value, that's a nice feeling. So it was a fun experience as well, personally as well as for your pockets.
So the very first semester you were spending in dollars, and then when once you started earning in dollars, you started to feel a bit even.
Yeah, I mean, you feel a bit safe that you are not just using your parents' money now. You are using your own self-earned money for that, and it's a nice feeling.
And you also did some of this graduate assistant RA kind of thing, RATA kind of thing. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So for the summer, I decided to do a research assistantship with a professor. So it was a department called SciLab, which focuses on cybersecurity and privacy. So my research topic was mainly mobile security and how cryptographic keys work on a mobile to secure the hardware components as well. So it was a pretty fun experience and it was totally remote, so I could work from anywhere, and it helped me hone my skills and also build relations with the professor. So I think it was an all-round experience, which also helped me upskill myself, build up my CV a bit, focus on my technical skills, as well as talk to the professor about their experiences and how their expertise might help you in life in the future.
So how did you find this research project? Like, did you approach like a few of the professor and then you got selected by one of them? Or how was the job like this summer work hunting for you?
Yeah, so the approach which I used was I just emailed professors in the Scilab department or in any other department which offer which in which professors do cybersecurity research. So I think the primary method is just directly approaching the professor, asking if there's any spot for research. And most of the times, professors are very happy to onboard you for their research or any sort of stuff, and they're pretty open to anything or any collaborations. So I think, yeah, approaching professors in person or as well as on email would be the best thing to gain any research opportunities or any teacher assistant opportunities as well.
So this professor did teach any subject also in your class, or it was a completely different professor?
At least for me, the professor didn't teach me any classes, so the professor teaches different subjects in a different department. And fortunately, he had a research area in which I could contribute a bit in the summer. So yeah, he suggested me the project on a meeting, and then I liked the idea, and then I started my research assistantship for the summer.
So you didn't think maybe approaching the professor who are teaching you might be a better option, or like what about your peers? Like how is this decision made? Like whom to approach? Maybe the one who are teaching you, or the one who are not teaching you. Maybe there is a pros and cons of both. What's your feeling about this?
Yeah, I mean, approaching the professors which teach you is, of course, the best bet because you know them and you know what's happening. But it's not necessarily that all the professors have topics which you want. So every professor has his or her own domain in which they primarily focus on. So it's up to you and your career goals. So you make sure you get the project which aligns with your career goals and what you want to do in the future. And of course, you'll get a lot of opportunities, but I think staying on the right path in terms of a career and selecting the right project with the right professor, even if it means stepping out of your comfort zone, it would be the best thing.
So this RA thing can be also there is a possibility that you can find this in some other college, right? Have you
Oh
thought about
yeah, I
that?
think yeah. Oh yes, you can approach. I mean, other colleges usually release their research applications in the summer as well. But I think being at CMU, you get a lot of opportunities over here. So as for me, I didn't feel any need of going outside the college to get any opportunities for the summer.
Sure, sure. And what are your future goals from now for next few years?
Yes. So currently, my program has the option to move to Silicon Valley to do a company-sponsored project. So as of now, I have moved to the Silicon Valley campus of CMU, in which I'll be carrying out a project with the company, which will be really revealed in the future for me, in some weeks for me. So that is the main thing as of now, which I'm currently doing is a project with the company. So that's the good part of my program in CMU. And in the future, I would, of course, I'm aiming to work in the US in the domain of cybersecurity and incident response. So I think that opportunity with the company project would translate and help me as a stepping stone to the future and my career goals as well.
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, so coming to the very last question now, what will be some pro tips for the juniors who might be considering CMU as one of the option, or US in general as one of the option, or just a study abroad as one of the option? What are the few key things they should always keep in mind before deciding which college, which course to take?
So primarily, I would suggest that you should look at the job market in the US currently. So the things which I observed was that people who have more than 2 years of work experience and then who come to the masters and apply for jobs get internships or jobs easily because they already have the network built back in their home country or something. So that's an ideal option. Or the second thing is don't have any experience at all. Come with a clean slate over here so that you will get more preference for new graduate roles as well. And I've seen that just having 1 year of work experience is not that useful. I mean, I don't think it's useful at all because you don't even have a network and you just come freshly out. So your skills are not attested. And also, if someone is aiming to apply to CMU, I feel that in your undergraduate, you should develop your leadership skills by joining as many clubs as possible so that you'll make a mark in your college and you can put that on your CV. Make new projects which are related to your future career goals. Select those courses in undergrad which would help you, yeah, in the application in the future. And most importantly, build relations with the professor, as I said in the start, because they are the ones who would enable you to go for further education by the SOPs and all. So yeah, and also LOs from the professor, and also focus on your SOP a bit, make it more refined, and show why you are passionate about joining the course, and show how your life built you up to join that course, and show why what makes you special in that. So I think SOPs matter the most, and that would be the main tip which I would like to leave the juniors with.
Yeah, thank you, Mayuresh, for all your tips and insights. It was great talking to you and knowing about your journey. And we hope our audience will learn something from you, and maybe some of them might contact you through LinkedIn or something. So feel free to help them out if you have time.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you as well, and thank you for conducting such a nice podcast, which will help the students in the future.
Okay, then take care. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.